Is the OM system OM-5 the ultimate travel reportage camera, or just a 2022 re-release of the Olympus OMD EM5 Mark III? Spoiler alert, it is much more complicated, as this camera is more than just the sum of its parts, and it somehow manages to not fit into any traditional camera categorizations. My name is Eisl. I'm a professional photographer from Vienna, Austria. Over the course of the last few weeks, the OM system OM-5 accompanied me on all my trips and when roaming the streets of beautiful Vienna. However, it would be premature to present a full review after only a few thousand or so photos. Instead, what I can and will do right now is to explore what the OM-5 is and what it is not. Let's get started. More than any other camera in the current and previous lineup, the OM-5 embodies what the Olympus OM single-digit film SLRs and the Olympus OMD EM5 series were always renowned for: compactness and elegance in form and refined function with only minimal compromise, appealing to beginners and professionals alike. The OM system OM-5 is truly the one and only heir to this throne because of three elements which constitute the essence of this model: the processor, the handling, and the viewfinder. From both an engineering and a user standpoint, the TruePic 9 processor, which lends the camera its computing power, is probably the most remarkable component to examine. From a user's perspective, it is this processor which allows the OM-5 to perform live ND shooting, handheld high-res shot, and in-camera focus stacking. Introduced for the Olympus EM1 Mark III flagship model, this processor was originally intended to work with the high-power battery pack BLH1. Nonetheless, the OM system engineering team managed to make the TruePic 9 work with the much smaller BLS batteries the OM-5 is using. Keep in mind that these batteries were initially intended for E400 series DSLRs and pen cameras. The overall design language of the OM-5 follows the EM5 lineage. What sticks out is the formidable grip design. When photographing street scenes, I rarely use a camera strap, so I hold the camera in my hands all the time. But even after hours with the OM-5 out in the cold, I did not feel any discomfort while working with it. When it comes to cameras, how buttons and dials feel and how the shutter sounds are very important to me personally. I immediately noticed two attributes. First, the precision and mechanical feedback of all control elements, and second, the dampened shutter sound. Especially the latter was very noticeable to me. When I take a photograph, I brace the camera's viewfinder against the upper part of the orbit of my eye to stabilize it as much as possible. A side effect is that I can really feel the mechanical shutter actuation. So in terms of feeling and shutter sound, the OM-5 reminds me a bit of various Leica cameras I've used in the past. One of the most important aspects of a camera is its viewfinder. On paper, the OM-5's viewfinder is not really spectacular, but for the serious reportage photographer, it is a potential game changer in practice. Let's go back in time for a moment. When Nikon released the F3, it was designed with the photojournalist in mind. What Nikon understood back then was that a photojournalist needs a full view of the scene at one glance. Therefore, they introduced the f3 HP. HP stands for high eye point. This f3 variant gives you slightly less magnification, so you can hold your eye slightly farther away and see the full image. Even today, the f3 HP is vastly more popular than the regular f3 just because of that. Unfortunately, in practically all recent reviews, this characteristic of a viewfinder is always left aside, with the focus solely being on which camera has the biggest LCD panel and highest magnification. Which is nice on the spec sheet, don't get me wrong, but huge viewfinders are often terrible in practice, as you have to scan the frame with your eye. It might work for landscape, but for photojournalism it is just terrible. Thankfully, OM system did not forget what made the f3 HP so popular back then, and designed a viewfinder with a high eye point that even outclasses the legendary Nikon itself, which had an eye point of 25 mm. The OM-5 offers an incredible 27 mm eye point, making it possible to view the full image and all camera settings even when wearing glasses. Just for comparison, the OM-1 has a way better viewfinder panel than the OM-5, but with an eye point of only 21 mm. It's nice to have high-resolution viewfinders for winning spec sheet wars, but in practice this is almost completely irrelevant. What is not irrelevant though is actually seeing what is in the frame quickly and reliably, because that is what gets you the shot. The OM-5 is not a fast action camera. It is also not the ultimate high-performance do-it-all flagship camera. That would be the OM-1, which is in many ways the first real successor of the Olympus single-digit E-series professional DSLRs in my opinion. So where does the OM-5 lag behind? Under challenging circumstances, the autofocus is still good, but it is not industry-leading like the OM-1s. While the computational features are there and work perfectly, they are not what they are in the OM-1 in terms of smoothness and speed. The OM-1 runs all those advanced calculations effortlessly, while the OM-5's TruePic 9 just takes a bit longer to think. When it comes to image quality, the OM-5 does not constitute a compromise. It is often overlooked that this camera is able to deliver what is state-of-the-art image quality for micro four thirds. Only the OM system OM-1 outperforms the OM-5 at higher ISO settings, thanks to its advanced analog to digital converter architecture and revolutionary sensor. But that is, for all intents and purposes, a difference only measurable in the lab and not really relevant in practice. The OM-5 is a refined, compact photographic instrument for the connoisseur and beginner alike, usable under all environmental conditions thanks to IP53 certified weather sealing. The high eye point and compactness make it well suited for reportage photography, including street and travel. I would also recommend the OM-5 for the landscape photographer who wants or needs to travel light. High-res shot and Live ND are valuable features for this genre. The speed is only secondary. But let's not leave the average person lacking basic photography knowledge out of the picture. The fire and forget auto mode and the well-implemented scene modes are very useful features for this type of user. Last but not least, the OM-5 is an ideal camera for content creators, including small businesses who need to document for social media and advertising. Although the OM-5 is not the flagship model, it is the next best thing. If you start your photographic journey with an OM-5, be assured that you will never really outgrow it. Even if you get an OM-1 at some point, which I really recommend as it is one of the best cameras ever made, the OM-5 will still be the ideal compact travel reportage companion that the OM-1 is not. For technical and practical insights not to be found in the official documentation or anywhere else, I highly recommend my OM System OM-5 Expert Guide, available through the link below. This comprehensive guide will help you to truly master the OM-5. It covers everything from sensor readout speed to dynamic range, autofocus and much more. Also, I would very much appreciate your thoughts on the OM-5 and the points I brought up in this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing and following me on other social media. See you next time.